I'm Tom Landon. On today's episode, we'll examine what it takes to give the gift of life. While we all say we love our family members, it's rare that we get to really show it to them in the highest degree. Today we're talking to two people who have. Carla Brindle is a local realtor, and as she watched her stepfather, Albert Williams, struggle with kidney disease, she only wished there was something she could do. What she learned was that she was a match for the organ Albert desperately needed. She didn't hesitate to offer to help. This decision set a series of events in motion that resulted in a familial transplant, giving Albert a chance at new life without dialysis. Today we'll talk about the decision, the process, the ups and downs of organ transplantation with two extraordinary people. Welcome to both of you. First of all, I just want to ask, Carla, you told me early on that as we were back and forth that you met Albert 16 years ago and you think of him as your father, and so tell me what it was like when you first met Albert.
Well, first, thanks for the age reduction. It was a little more than 16 years ago. It was when I was 16.
Oh, when you were 16, okay.
And that's when he started dating my mother, and a few years later they got married, and he's been very much like a father to me ever since. So, and I forgot your original question, though. Oh,
that's okay. It was just tell me what you thought when you first met him.
Oh, I thought he was a really great person. He was a lot of fun, and we got along really well. He and I got along probably as well as he and my mother did, and we used to play cards together. Some of my friends would come over, we would play cards, we'd just sit around and talk, we would go places together, go on vacations. When he and my mother got married, they went to Hawaii to get married, and I was the only person there other than the officiant who married them. So
you joined an established family with a teenage girl. And, that's not always a recipe for success. So how did that go?
Well, that went very well. I met her mother on my job, and from there, we started dating. And then when I met Carla, she was beautiful. She's just an angel, as far as I was concerned. now,
way too nice.
No, she really was. And like, because I had a son. I have a son, put it this way. I have a son. But I never had a daughter to grow up with. So it's kind of a little different having a son and daughter. And I learned things from her. Like she may have learned some things from me. But the journey was really a good journey. We took vacations together, and it was just good. It was open relationship. It was really good.
Nice, nice. Tell me how you would kind of describe yourself before your illness, before you started to have kidney troubles. And I don't know what other troubles you might have had, but what was your life like before kidney problems?
I retired at 58 from my job here in Roanoke, and I used to travel a lot and go different places. And then when I started feeling bad, my blood pressure stayed high all the time. That's a sign of kidney failure. I had heart issues. I had stents put in, and I was diabetic. I had all those things going against me, and then when they couldn't solve the issue of high blood pressure, then my kidneys and everything started getting worse and worse, and the doctors couldn't get my blood pressure to come down at all. I tried different medications, it didn't work, and then all of a sudden it came to the point where I had to go on dialysis, okay? And my life right there stopped in a way, I felt like, and most people that go on dialysis, I feel like it was the end, but it really wasn't the end, it was a beginning. It was a beginning because the technology that they have these days to treat you is a lot better than it was 10, 15 years ago from the time. So, but I felt bad. I felt depressed.
Sure. Well, I think that's probably natural. And Carla, as you watched this gradual but steady decline. What were you thinking?
Well, I watched him go from a person who they loved to travel, even if it was just like a quick overnight trip or a weekend trip here and there, within driving distance. He would go out and walk all the time. He would go out to lunch with his friends, and gradually, like, he wasn't traveling. He wasn't going out and walking around the places. He wasn't going to lunch with his friends, and you could see there was a change in his color. He was slower. He would come over for dinner and he looked like he just wanted to fall asleep sitting there, or he would go sit in the living room and we'd all still play games around the table, and he really wasn't able to be a part of that. And that was before he got the news that, hey, your kidney function is what, it was below 10%. I think it was 9% is what you said when I went over.
It dropped down, yeah.
That happened kind of abruptly. It kind of went from, it's not doing great and we're keeping an eye on it, to you have less than 9% kidney function.
Right. Is there a genetic, sounds like you have other family members who also have some health problems or genetic predisposition?
Yes. I had an uncle that had kidney failure, and I think he was on dialysis for maybe 4 or 5 months, and he just gave up and said, I couldn't take no more of this. Take me off. They took him off, and he went around too long. And then I had an aunt that had been on for years, and maybe 7, 8 years, and she didn't last that long either, but longer than my uncle did.
Right. Dialysis is amazing. I mean, what we can do with modern science.
Yes.
But it's not really the solution to kidney problems.
It's not. But a lot of people give up before they get started. That's the thing. They give up before they get started. And Carla and Lisa, my wife, they didn't want me to give up. I mean, I would get depressed. Tears would come in my eyes at times, because I felt like my life was gone. But then going to dialysis, I mean, my wife had to get up in the mornings at 5 o'clock and take me down to dialysis to get me started for 3.5 hours, and she'd come back in the cold to pick me up. So I started dialysis last year towards mid-November, and I went from Dallas all the way till the time I had my surgery, which was June 8th. But see, God is good, because it was a miracle for me. God is good. It was good that Carla was in my life. It was good that I had opportunity to go through the center, and then I was able to bring it home with me. Some people do it at home. So my wife trained to do part of the operation, and I stuck myself.
Right. So a little less, at least nobody had to get up at 5:30 in the morning to take you and that sort of thing.
It was less cold.
Right, less cold. And then there was a lot of pressure on her, because, she didn't take me there and bring me home. But then when we did it at home, it was so much better.
You, in addition to being encouraging while he was going through dialysis, tell me about when you first heard the word, like, a transplant, and what that did in your mind. You strike me as someone who's organized and likes to get things done. So when you heard that a transplant was the best option, what happened?
Well,
next?
Strangely enough, in the conversation, when my parents called me and asked me to come by, I knew something was wrong, because they're like, can you just stop by? And I was like, oh, that was way too casual. And when they told me about that they had been to the doctor the day before and what they had said, he didn't say transplant. I don't think he would have ever said, would you consider this? But the first thing in my mind was, can I give you a kidney? Because it made logical sense to me. I'm a healthy person. I have 2 kidneys, or used to. Let's see if we can do that. And actually, he kind of paused and he goes, well, they said that that's probably my best option.
Well, right. I want to talk about that a little bit too. So when someone gets the diagnosis you have, there's a whole process of selecting who is at the top of the list. There are transplants from deceased people, and then there are living transplants.
Correct.
But the best outcomes happen when it is with a live donor, right?
It is, and the reason why is because they're able to do a lot of testing. and make sure that you're getting at that moment what they think is the best possible organ for you. So it wasn't just, oh, yeah, you seem healthy and yeah, your blood type matches, let's do it. There was a lot of testing involved, and with a cadaver organ, they don't have time to do that. They have to, move quickly before the organ is no longer viable. So they might think it's probably going to be a good match, but they don't have all of the resources and time to make sure it's the best possible
match for you, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, and also there's just a long wait. I mean, I've read that the wait can be quite long.
Usually somewhere between 7 to 8 years, unless you're considered something like really emergent. And, and it's not that they're saying people above a certain age don't deserve a kidney. They look for the best possible outcomes. They're taking an organ and putting it into somebody and they want the best possible outcome. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of people involved, and there are a lot of other people who want an organ, so they need to make sure that they can get the best outcome,
Right, sure. And that, it's a very limited resource.
Right.
So had you had to wait, you might still be waiting and going through dialysis every day.
That's correct.
How did you find out that Carla was a match for you?
Well, again, we were going down there together, having a lot of tests done.
Where were you going to have those?
UVA.
Going to UVA. Well, we got a chance to talk to some of the people on your transplant team, and I wanted to share that with our viewers now. So here you go.
Where living donation comes in is we can oftentimes get a donor evaluated and approved for surgery within a couple of months. The less time the recipient is waiting, the less time there is for complications to arise or other things to happen that maybe disqualifies that recipient to receive a kidney transplant.
As your donor team, we are responsible for looking out for you. We want the recipients transplanted and we want them to get a good kidney, but our main priority is you and making sure that you are going to live a healthy life with one kidney, to the best of our knowledge with all the testing that we do.
There are some really important innovations on the deceased donor side also, but I don't think they're ever going to meet the demand. So I think a big part of the growth has to become a living donor. And living donor transplant is exceptional. One is it provides some amazing stories of hope and regeneration. But on top of that, there's such a connection often between the donor and the recipient. And this is a different kind of operation in the sense that you can schedule it instead of waiting for an average of 4 to 8 years, at least in the Commonwealth of Virginia, for a kidney transplant, deceased donor kidney transplant. That could happen in months. So your wait time is measured in months and not years. And we know what that kidney is going to be like because we can examine the kidney and its function in the donor before we take the kidney out.
Every living donor story inspires me, to be honest. Every living donor we have that steps forward is giving a gift that is completely life-altering. And I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. It is life-changing, life-saving. And at the end of the day, these are ordinary people stepping up to do just an incredible, extraordinary act. And living donation is the epitome of someone walking through someone else's illness with them. I think illness lots of times can be isolating for patients, people that have been maybe living with organ failure, kidney failure, waiting for a transplant, and then having someone walk along you and say, I'm going to undergo a surgery, donate my organ to you. I think that's a really powerful process.
For those individual patients, it's so profound and life-changing in every possible way you can imagine. People being able to go back to school, go back to work, have new endeavors and professions that they'd only ever dreamed of, go fishing with their grandchildren, just anything that makes them happy and them not on the dialysis machine for hours on end. And so those stories are really amazing and why we come to work every single day.
So a really interesting fact is that organ donation is also partially based off of blood type, not the Rh factor, but your blood type. And O's can still typically be a match for anyone.
Right, the universal donor blood type.
But they can only receive from O's generally. Well, he's O positive and I'm O negative, so we're both O's. So he would have had even more of a wait for a donor if there wasn't an O donor ready to go for him. So we knew from the beginning that our blood types were good. There was, at one point, we thought we were going to be doing something called paired donation, because I may not have been, once they approved me as a donor, and I don't know if I'm jumping around.
No, that's good. What is a paired donation?
Paired donation is, sometimes people say, well, I would consider donating to my uncle, but our blood types are wrong. Well, if you're healthy, you can still donate. There's a paired donor registry with National Kidney Registry. And what they do is they take and they put everybody's information that's approved as a donor into this database, and every recipient waiting for a transplant into the database. And they have this great, really cool algorithm that goes through all the time. It's probably running 24 hours a day, I don't know.
Sure.
And maybe you're not the right donor for your uncle, and I am, but you're the right donor for my dad. And then they do like this daisy chain.
Like a 4-person.
Yeah, I think the most they've done is a 12 person.
Oh wow,
yeah.
where they're shifting from here to there, and then they probably have to get people in the same place to.
Well, and they don't, because just like cadaver organs can be flown across the country, living donation organs can be flown across the country, but they all time it just right. Now, if one person in that chain ends up, for some reason, right around surgery time, not being able to go through, then they do usually have to put the brakes on and come up with a new chain. But I just, kind of want people to know, just because you're not the right blood type for your friend or your family member, it doesn't mean that you can't help them. Because if you give an organ to someone else, they can get an organ from somebody else's.
You're getting credit for that act of altruism, and then it's like most like an instant karma kind of thing. It happens really quickly. Because we don't have that much time, I could talk to you forever, and we've still got plenty of time. But walk me through the day of surgery and sort of what you felt like when you woke up.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I told my wife, I told Carla, the day of surgery, when we both got down there, now she had to go in before me, naturally.
Have the kidney all ready for you.
Right, she had to go in before me. And I'm gonna be honest with you, when I came to, I didn't know it was already done. I'd be honest with you. It happened so fast. I asked my wife, I said, when they gonna take me? She said, you done came back already. And it was just a surprise that it went just like that.
And Carla, one of the things we talked about before the show is you want to make sure people understand what the process is like for a donor, because it's scary, right? No, very few people take elective surgery, to have a procedure done that they don't absolutely have to do. So what was your experience?
So I am going to preface this because I don't want to sugarcoat everything. I don't want anybody to think I am. It is a major surgery. It's not like you're going in and having your tonsils removed and you go home 2 hours later. Okay, but it's not that bad, or it hasn't been for me. And I'm part of a living donor group online, and the majority of the stories are very similar to mine. Just like any surgery, of course, sometimes things can go wrong. But statistically, it's safer than probably driving from here to, Valley View in your car. So for me, the testing was maybe worse than the surgery, and that wasn't even that bad. It's just I had to get poked a lot.
Right.
But I was, for some reason, I never got nervous for the surgery.
Kidneys are one of those things. We do have 2 of them, and it's not quite like lungs where you can do without one, right?
Right, absolutely, and it's kind of interesting. Usually, it takes somewhere between 6 months to a year for your remaining kidney to kind of pick up that slack. A lot of people are really tired after kidney donation, sometimes for months and even a year. Not like prohibitively tired, just more tired than usual. That lasted for me about 3 weeks, about 3.5 weeks. My labs are showing up like I have 2 kidneys still, so I'm doing pretty good.
That's great.
And I'm not a health nut. I don't think that's bad, but I'm not. I have a cocktail here and there. I eat chocolate and ice cream. But I'm pretty healthy overall, and I try to stay pretty healthy, and I think that helps. I think having some sort of physical activity helps. But I woke up, I felt like somebody had cut in my abdomen, which they had in a few places. They gave me some medication in the hospital, but a couple hours after surgery, I walked down the hall to see him. So that tells you that I was able to be mobile. I could have gone home the next day, but They decided to keep me one extra day because I was having trouble eating. My stomach didn't like being shoved around.
Anesthesia is hard on your stomach.
Yeah.
Too. It can really do a number on you. So when did you start to feel better, or when did you notice that you were feeling better?
Okay, I was still in pain.
Sure.
You know, and then I was having, I didn't really have appetite where I wanted to eat. We had to get up and walk so much during the day or evening too. So the more exercise we try to do by walking, the better they felt like we would react better to getting out of there and feeling better. And so she walked down to my room, and then I think I walked up to her room maybe once or twice. And but she saw me more. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm taking different types of medication. Matter of
Sure,
fact,
you got
I'm taking more medication.
anti-rejection
Yeah,
stuff
I'm
and-
taking 3 anti-rejection medications, but I'm also taking other medication, and I'll be taking them the rest of my life, the anti-rejection medication. I get cold a lot. A lot of time,
You're welcome.
you know, a lot of times my iron is down. Just different side effects.
But within what the normal of what they expect. But in
Right.
terms of like how you, so not like how your body is, but how do you,
How do I feel?
feel? You
How
talked
do
a
I
lot
feel?
about depression and that sort of thing going into it.
Well, since I had my surgery, I haven't really gone through any signs of depression. I really haven't. I mean, I've been tired, like she mentioned. I've been tired, sluggish every once in a while. I still get that, and he said that will continue, you know, because it takes a certain time limit before I start really feeling my whole self again.
Have you made? I know that you seem like a pretty healthy person. Have you made any other positive health changes as a result, knowing that what you've gone through?
Yes. My eating habits have changed.
What were they before?
Before, I used to eat two pieces of pork chop. Now I can only eat one, half of one. So my eating habits changed. I'm walking up to 9,000 steps a day. And this is not every day, but like I'm gonna say 3 out of 4 days I'm walking. So I'm walking more. I'm getting out more. I don't sleep as much as I was before I went to all this. I used to get down and want to sleep all the time.
Well, that goes hand in. That's both probably a reaction to your diagnosis that you had before, but also that depression. It just
Right.
makes you tired.
Right.
Well, and he really, I don't think he sees this, but everyone around him sees this. He looks years younger than he did this time last year. He
Yeah.
really does. And the day of surgery, and this is no joke, his color was like night and day different from before surgery to after surgery.
You almost forget what somebody used to look like, right? I have a friend whose father went through a heart transplant, and it was, I was like, oh, I remember when you looked like that.
I walked back down to my room and I said, okay, I'm not complaining about this. And I said this to my nurse. I said, he looks better than I do. And he goes, of course he does. His body has been sick. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, what's this? I feel a little better. And your body's like, what did you do to me?
Right.
But no, he did. It made me, I don't know, it just made me feel so good to see him.
Everybody says that. I mean, I can see some, you know, but everybody I talk to say, Albert, you don't look like the same person.
You know, you probably didn't realize, I don't want to say how bad you looked, but that you didn't look yourself,
Right.
because we don't see each other. We don't see ourselves in the way
Right.
that everybody else does.
Right.
Carla, do you have any concerns about, I mean, are your doctors voiced any concerns? You have one kidney now. It's a
I have
good
one
kidney,
kidney.
right? But how do you feel about
Sometimes
that?
people are born with one kidney, by the way. You
Right.
know, we can be perfectly fine with one kidney. At some point in the future, I could get sick, but I could have gotten sick with 2 kidneys. And this was not any part of a deciding factor for me, but for people who do worry, well, what happens if I get kidney disease? Well, if I get kidney disease, because I was a living donor, I go to the top of the transplant list.
Oh, right. So quote Bill Murray, you got that going for you
There
now,
you go.
right? And we've got about a minute and a half left. Do you have, what would you say to somebody who is struggling with the idea of whether they want to go through what you've gone through?
I would say keep the faith, believe in God, and things will work out for you. You have to have the faith, and you have to believe, and you have to be able to move in that direction. You do. You do.
We don't have a lot of time left, but Carla, anything you know in terms of the care you got, or anything you'd like to say about your experience?
Well, UVA was absolutely fabulous, first of all. Everyone there is so good and so professional. But I would just say, if this is something you've ever considered, if you have somebody in your life, check it out. You don't have to go through with it, even if you get all the way to the end where they approve you as a donor. If at any point you change your mind, your coordinator will declare you medically unable to donate. You don't even have to tell the person if that scares you, okay? But check it out. I mean, 2.5 months, you know?
You're the picture of health, and Albert,
you know, mine was a miracle. That's why I said believe in God. This is a miracle. How many people can have 7 months on dialysis?
Right.
And then have surgery? I mean,
well,
that don't happen to anybody.
No, it did. No, it happened to you, and I've got to cut you off there. But again, if you've got questions about the process or prognosis related to kidney transplantation, you can learn more at kidney.org or other websites, or talk to your doctor. Thanks to my guests for sharing their stories today. For What It Takes, I'm Tom Landon.